Joining us is a leading New Zealand businessman, economic commentator, done everything in his life. Craig Stobo joins us now. Craig, welcome to the show. Good afternoon to you, my friend.
Good afternoon, Michael. How are you?
I'm very well. Just before we get into matters politic and financial, just what's been happening over the last weekend? What did you do on Waitangi Day?
I was mowing lawns and seeing hedges at a crib in Queenstown. So, and that very hot nor'wester.
Yes, it was dreadful, wasn't it? Can I just for one moment, I read something over the last weekend, and you've just mentioned Queenstown, which set me off, and you have a view on this. It was to do with property prices in New Zealand. And as we know, New Zealanders are great believers in a property-owning democracy. Most of us, it is our primary saving expedition throughout our lives. And it was making the point about Queenstown, not just about Queenstown, but its associated satellites of Wanaka and Cromwell as well, that house prices haven't dropped there in the last 2 years in Queenstown, Wanaka and Cromwell, because the world, and particularly Australians, are buying property in Queenstown to a considerable degree. And then the article made, I think it was from homes.co.nz, that real estate site, it made the other point that Aucklanders were now getting frozen out of being able to buy in Queenstown as well, because it was actually costing them more, and the house prices were going up too much even for an Aucklander. So they were going to Cromwell or to Wanaka to purchase their properties, but at a lesser scale, and that the average house price now in Queenstown was over $2 million. That's the average house price, Craig. Now, obviously, you bought your property a long time ago when it wasn't $2 million. From your experience of Queenstown, is that right, that analysis? What is driving those incredible prices that is having a halo effect upon their surrounding region as well in Queenstown?
Well, it's a very attractive region to live in, geography, climate, access to services such as connection via the airport to Australia or to, for example, Auckland. So the amenity value is extremely high. It's just a different demographic of people that live in Central and want to live in Central. So I don't see that attractiveness changing over time, but it is prohibitively expensive. And if you want to get access to Central Otago amenity, you might have to give some of that up to live further out from, say, Wanaka, Queenstown, to take advantage of lower prices to access that weather and that geography. So I don't see that changing. But what I would say is that for those of you who have watched carefully the consents that are being followed, building consents are falling. Well, the number of building consents is lower and has been lower over time after the blip in 2021. And there was a briefing to the incoming ministers that was put up by the Ministry of Business and Environment, MB, to Chris Bishop, highlighting that issue, and the construction activity is falling across the country, and immigration is adding to rents. So Queenstown's got immigration coming in. It's probably got rents that are going up. It's got construction prices that are still high, but that's leading to a reduction in consent. So I don't think those trends are different, but it is more attractive, clearly, than other parts of New Zealand, whereas Wellington is significantly in reverse.
Is it?
Well, that's because of, I think, some concerns around incomes and jobs with the incoming government is not helping that particular part of the country.
No, I guess that's true. And I guess, has COVID made an irresistible change to the workforce, particularly in those kind of jobs that might be Wellington-based, where you can actually now negotiate to work from home?
You can, but there are, well, I can't speak for departments, but I certainly notice in the Auckland business community a desire to encourage staff to come back to work rather than have hybrids or 3 days out of 5 for a variety of reasons, including culture, including, creating ideas when you're with a group on site as opposed to trying to do it through Zoom. And so I think that's changing. Corporates are encouraging their staff to come back to work 5 days a week. That low and hybrid 21, 22 is past, and we're moving back into an environment of getting people back to work, and that will accelerate as the shift occurs and the unemployment rate rising slowly over time, and workers have less choice around organisations to work for, and organisations will say, if you want to work for us, you'll need to be at work 4 or 5 days a week, not just 3.
Craig, you're a businessman and a chairman of large companies. Is working from home less productive than having them in the office?
I think there's an efficiency or a improvement in productivity with technology, but then you get to a point where that's been achieved, and what you lose is that connectivity between workers. You can imagine yourself coming into an organisation as a new migrant or a new entry to the workforce, and you're on Zoom 3 out of 5 days a week, and you're in the office for 2. You don't have connections to other people. You're not around the water cooler. You can't contribute ideas. The technology is improving, but it effectively is sequential questioning and answering on the Zoom or on Microsoft Teams. Having a group debate is much harder on technology. So that is lost. So I think this productivity goes to a point, and then you lose something else, which is the difference between an organisation and a great organisation, which is the way the team works together.
Right. Okay. All right. No, it's good to know. And I'm sure you're right too. Listen, the government's just announced this morning, by the way, Prime Minister Chris Luxon and Transport Minister Simeon Brown, that the Auckland regional fuel tanks is ending. It was well promoted, I have to say, during the election campaign, but they are confirming that. They say the tax will come to an end by June the 30th. And Aucklanders, just for those of you who don't know, Craig will, though, but Aucklanders have paid an extra 11.5 cents per litre tax on fuel, over and above what the rest of the country has paid, and they've been paying it since the 1st of July 2018. That money has been theoretically going to improve Auckland regional transport. Did it work, Craig, that funding?
Did it work? Did the government redeploy that cash that they received, or the taxes they received? Did that go back into specifically Auckland? It's very hard to know that, isn't it? Because it's a consolidated fund. Have services improved in Auckland? Well, certainly since borders have been opened again, and we can access workers for the bus fleet in Auckland, for example. Auckland Transport's got drivers that are back driving the buses now, which is great. Are the trains always on time and available? No. It's still work in progress, I think, from an AT perspective, Auckland Transport perspective. The queues and the traffic jams are definitely coming back. If you were trying to get away for long weekends down south or up north, if you want to go away for Auckland Anniversary Weekend and you left at, let's say, late evening before the long weekend, you'd spend an hour to an hour 20 getting from the city centre to the top of Bombay's. So, the congestion is growing as immigration adds to the number of people that are in cars. So I would argue that we've still got a long way to go. Bring on the city rail loop, so it will take some pressure off inner city commuting. But Auckland is a city that's geographically challenged because it's such a large area that's poorly serviced by public transport. So you're always going to have cars on the road. Yeah.
And unless you have designated bus lanes, they get caught up in the congestion as well, yeah? But that then just increases the congestion.
Yeah, so congestion charging is a great idea, and I think, Mayor Brown continues to float that idea. that'll push traffic into different parts of the day rather than everyone being on peak hour. And for those in the commercial world who need to shift goods and services across the city, that'll be welcome. They'll pay for it because they get their goods delivered much faster than currently when they're sitting in long queues.
Okay. I'm also sorry. I've got thunder here, but I think yes, we've just got thunder here. Craig, can you hear that in the background? No.
No, I can't.
Oh, it's all right. Oh, it's okay. It's gone now. Oh, that was interesting. Now, can I just say the other thing that comes out of that, though, is to do with road transport, is that it's an intractable problem. So if you're going to say that you're going to improve public transport in this country, which was a massive idea or issue with the last government, it doesn't look like the same initiative is there, the same impetus is going to be there for the next 3 or 4 years, does it? I mean, the money's simply not going to be there if you're going to be giving tax cuts, presumably in this coming budget.
Well, there's the highways of significance piece. So there are still projects underway to push, for example, the main highway north of Auckland past Warkworth further north to get to Whangarei. So I think that's still, past an idea that's in specification. The other angle is the road funding from NZTA to councils. Councils rely on subsidies or grants from NZTA for their roading networks, and that's part of the P&L of a council's budget. So the negotiations with NZTA and councils will be important as to how that helps develop local roading networks. So I think this government is pretty clear around cutting expenditure that they see as kind of trophy, such as the light rail idea that's gone. But what's it going to be replaced with is a better thinking about our transport networks and how they're funded and how they're used. So I think there's quite a lot still to come from the about how that will evolve.